Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Eric's Drink Whiskey. Miller here, and I'm doing a blind shootout that I'm really excited about because it's one of my favorite labels from one of my favorite distillers, and that's Knob Creek. So, 2020 saw Knob Creek put out their 15-year limited release small batch. This was pretty cool. Retailed around $94 to $99 a bottle. Came in a real nice, sexy wooden box. Was a fantastic, smooth drinking product. Absolutely loved it. Now, it got a lot of shit because folks were saying, well, why am I going to pay $100 for 15-year-old Knob Creek when I can go down to my local liquor store who did a pick and get a 15-year-old Knob Creek pick for 45 to 50 bucks, depending on what they were selling it for. So I'm here to maybe unravel that question a little bit, or at least shed some light on it. First off, the difference between a small batch and a single barrel, as most of you know, is a single barrel is literally coming from one barrel, aged for a set amount of time. It's its own ecosystem, depending on the cooperage, where it is in the rick house, how high up, with front, center, sidewall, it all influences the flavor. A small batch is going to be multiple barrels checking a box. So one thing you're going to get right off the bat with the 15-year from bottle to bottle over a single barrel is consistency of flavor. And that may be one thing that this tasting highlights, is that, well, yes, I've got 3 different bottles of 15-year-old Knob Creek. They all taste different. Maybe. We'll see. I've had each of these individually. I've been toying with doing this flight before and really just haven't, I don't know, mustered up the strength or courage to do it. But here I am drinking 3 15-year-old Knob Creeks at the same time. These are blinded. I have no idea which is which. I will tell you, the 2 picks. One is from Jigs Liquors here in Gainesville, Florida. It's on like 14 years, 6 months to 14 years, 9 months. It's right at the cusp of being 15 years old, which in whiskey world, a matter of months really doesn't influence flavor. We're talking chunks of 3 to 4 years to get drastic differences in flavor. The other is from the Liquor Barn in Valdosta, Georgia. Same age, give or take a month or so. And the last is, of course, the Knob Creek 15-year limited release that came out in 2020. All 3 of these are absolutely delicious. I've tasted them on their own. They're fantastic drinkers. The main difference between these 3, of course, the 2, I'm randomly pointing to 2 glasses. The 2 barrel picks are 120 proof versus the 15-year-old that is, or the limited release, that's 100 proof, like the rest of Knob Creek's small batch stuff. So just upon visual inspection, these all look identical. So for obvious reasons, so there's no sense in doing a color test. This first one, get a nice oak on the nose, very oaky. Maybe a twinge of some like green apple, some bright fruit. And then there's some of that vanilla and caramel and a little bit of tobacco. Really nice nose on that. We'll just nose through them. That's kind of what I like to do. Second one is not as oaky, but we get that bright kind of green apple. We have Ellie the whiskey dog joining us. You see her tail down here. There's a little bit of oak on there, and some peanut, which, of course, all of Beam's products are known for. And then the last but not least, kind of a more muted, more round, vanilla-y, caramely, green apple on that a little bit. So, all right, we'll dive in and taste these. Sample number 1. Cheers. Sweetness right at the front. That rye and that oak really work together. So you get a nice black pepper tingle, like a cinnamony tingle. Mid palate. Nice long finish. You get that oak combined with kind of some of that caramely tobacco flavor. It's really nice. A little bit of the bean peanut flavor there on the end. Pretty good drinker. Sample 2. Again, this one kind of had a brighter smell to it, so let's see what we... More velvety. That spice isn't as apparent. Nice and sweet. Fades to a nice oak. Oaky, tobacco-y. Very complex round flavor. Nice medium long finish. The spice really isn't as punchy in this one as it was the first one, though. Again, this is our last one. This one is, again, not as spicy. It's got a nice, thick, brown, sugary, caramely mouthfeel and flavor right up front. Fades to a very nice woody, almost kind of a cedary flavor into a nice oak. And then it's a nice, smooth, long finish. So let's see. If I had to rank these, because that's why we do these, is so we can rank them. Again, none of these are bad. These are all great bottles. I own multiples of all of them because I don't want to run out. I love Knob Creek. I love Jim Beam. So 1, 2, 3 is not best to worst. It's kind of most favorite to not quite as most favorite. So just to give you an idea of what we're working with on my sliding scale. This one's a real spicy, nice peppery, really bold, but it's got some sweetness to mellow it out. Actually a really great drinker. The second one. Second one's nice and mellow. It's got the sweetness, it's got some pepper, it's got some of the woodiness, but it all just kind of, it's an experience. It's not peaks of flavors, is kind of more of an undulation, if that makes sense. Smooth, maybe, I guess would be how you would describe it officially. And this one is that thick, sweet, right up front, not a lot of pepper, very woody on the back, with some heavy oak, and even some kind of resiny cedar notes in there. So, if I had to pick these, and how I pick whiskeys that I like out of a flight is going to be what am I most apt to pour on a daily basis, what I'm going to drink the most of. Because you know there's some flavor profiles that you have to be in the mood for. Number one is going to be this middle one. So I'm going to reposition that for the camera, pull these back. Number one is this middle one, which was B. Number two, again, this would be the one I'd be second most likely to pour, would be this one. I love the thick sweetness. I love the little bit of woodiness. Me turning over the cards has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's just a little OCD. I love the woodiness. And then the last one, I love a good peppery, spicy, high rye bourbon, rye whiskey. And this is no exception. One of my absolute favorite pours is the Knob Creek Cask Strength Rye. No surprise. And it is just, it's a nice, spicy, just in your face drinker. But do I go to it every day? Absolutely not. Because that's, you know, not a very accessible flavor for whatever mood I'm in. So B, C, A, in no particular order. Now, the blinded bottles are here under the table, so I'm going to pull them up one by one. All right, so what the hell does all this mean? In my opinion, this one had a much smoother construction of flavors. There wasn't big jumps in sweet, pepper, oak, dryness. if you recall, I did a tasting with a friend of mine of an Elijah Craig small batch and Elijah Craig barrel pick. And it was the exact opposite. The small batch had big spikes of sweetness, of pepper, and the barrel pick gave us a much more kind of smooth experience. That's kind of what I'm getting here. I don't have any big jumps in flavor. It's just kind of a it's the difference between kind of a roller coaster that does just kind of gentle ups and downs and spikes, if that makes sense. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I have a feeling I'm not going to do a good job of explaining it. The last two came down to just how I felt about the flavors for a daily drinker. The sweetness and woodiness of this one, I really loved. I found it to be more of a daily drinker than the nice spicy bite of this one. Having had several of Bobby's picks from Liquor Barn, I know what his flavor profile is, and this falls right in line with it, and it's absolutely delicious. So follow us on Instagram at Eric's_drink_whiskey. That's where we're touting all of our videos, what we're buying, who we're drinking with. We do have a podcast up on Shout Engine and Apple Podcasts. It is EDWNCF, Eric's Drink Whiskey Non-Chill Filtered. What that is the uncut, unfiltered audio from our episodes. Because for every 15-20 minute episode we film, there's probably about 45 minutes to an hour of just me and Eric shooting the shit and not getting anything productive done, going down wormholes and sharing whiskey conspiracy theories. So this is Miller saying thank you for joining me, sticking with me, rambling through Knob Creek, and until next time, cheers.